All right, welcome everybody to today's video. Today I have a book review for you of a really interesting book that I just finished. It's called The Knowledge by Lewis Dartnell, How to Rebuild Civilization in the Aftermath of a Cataclysm. Lewis Dartnell is an astrobiologist from the UK. He's also the Professor of Science Communication at the University of Westminster. So the overarching theme of this book is that this book is a blueprint for a surviving civilization to be able to recreate the technological advancements that it would need to rebuild a civilization. So why write a book such as this? I like the way that Dartnell phrased it on page 3, and I'm going to quote him here. People living in developed nations have become disconnected from the everyday processes of civilization that support them. We are astoundingly ignorant of even the basics of the production of food, shelter, clothes, medicine, materials, or vital substances. What Dartnell attempts to do in this book is outline in great detail and in scientific terms how you would be able to recreate a civilization using the materials that are left behind. He also talks quite a bit about how a surviving civilization would need to scavenge materials from the detritus of the previous civilization to be able to make technological advancements to be able to move forward. So there's 13 chapters in this book. Over these 13 chapters, Dartnell does a really good job of outlining the specifics of what you would need to rebuild a civilization, including stuff like agriculture, food production, energy, communications, medicine, and much more. One of the things that I really enjoyed about this book was some of the quirkiness of it. So Dartnell covers some really interesting things, including the weaving loom and the wood gasifier fueled vehicles and the Pelton turbine and things like that. Another thing that I really appreciated about this book is that he covers, on a lot of the topics, he covers an extensive history of that particular technology, and there's quite a few things that stood out for me. One of the things I really liked was the reference to Alexander Fleming's creation of penicillin, how the Chinese preserved food in icy caves 3,000 years ago, the creation of nylon after the Second World War, the Chinese invention of the blast furnace in the 5th century BC, and Charles Brush's creation of the windmill in 1887. There really is a lot of historical references in this book that give the technologies a lot of context, and I appreciated that. I guess the only negative thing that I saw within this book is that it does get pretty far in the weeds on a lot of this stuff. In certain places, including the advanced chemistry, it can get pretty confusing. I'm not sure how many people in a surviving civilization would be able to put into practice the things that are mentioned in this book, including things like hydrolysis and distillation and things like that. So that, while I appreciate that there was a lot of detail put into the explanations on these technologies, on some of the items I have to question how feasible they are. I thought this book was fascinating. I would definitely recommend it to anyone in the preparedness community. It is a really unique insight into how a civilization might survive after an apocalyptic or event or a cataclysm or something like that. If you're really interested in learning a little bit more beyond the basics of survival and beyond the basics of things like, how to start a fire with a bow drill, or how to build a proper wiki up or something like that, this book definitely paves the way for a lot of advanced technologies that would be extremely useful in a civilization that's trying to recreate a life for themselves. So I highly recommend this book. I'm going to leave you with a quote from Dartnell near the end of his book, and it says this: "How long will it take to rebuild? How quickly can technological society recover after a cataclysm? The keys to rebuilding civilization may well be within this book." I think he's onto something here. And even though this book is extremely well-researched and constructed, I can't help but feel like this could be a series of books. I think he even talks in there a little bit about how this is almost an abbreviated version of the things that you could include in a book like this. So I'm really hoping that he puts out some more books like this, or that other authors pick up on the theme of this book and produce some more information for those of us that are hoping to survive an apocalypse or a cataclysm or a disastrous event. These topics covered in this book and hopefully in others will only benefit those of us that survive. I appreciate you guys watching today. This is my first book in a series of book reviews that I'll be doing on the channel. If you have ideas for a book that you would like me to cover, please post them in the comments. I'm an avid reader and I'm a studier of all things preparedness and emergency response and bushcraft and all the like. So if you have some comments, please leave them. I try to read every single one of them. Until I see you again on a survival video or a preparedness video or even a future book review, you guys all take care out there, and I appreciate you watching. Thanks.